And so we say, how do we help individuals be able to have hope, and how do we help them flourish? And so these are those are that's the momentum. The vision itself is the momentum that dictates what we continue to do to get to that vision where we're no longer needed in our community.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Missions That Made Them. I am your host, Jason Verdelli. This isn't just a podcast, but rather it's a movement. It's a movement designed to make the world a better place by bringing more awareness to the great work of the people and organizations making a difference. And more importantly, how you can help. We live in a world today surrounded by a narrative in the media that focuses in on negativity and draws attention to the problems, but not the solutions. Our guests represent the solutions, not the problems. And I'm super excited today to introduce our guest from the Hope Center in KC, Marvin Daniels. Marvin Daniels is basically running this organization, and he's going to tell us about everything what the Hope Center is doing. And I had a chance to check these guys out before this interview here, and what they're doing. And it's just absolutely incredible in terms of the education, all the educational programs that you offer. And we're going to dive into some deep subjects in here, I think, that are really important. And I think what you guys are doing is really revolutionizing, education and what you're doing in the urban community. So it is just awesome. So
Thank you, Jason.
Marvin,
Thank
welcome.
you so very much. It's great to be here and great to be on this podcast.
Excellent. So tell us a little about, 50,000, take us on an airplane, take us to 50,000 foot, maybe fly us in about 25,000 feet. Tell us a little about
I'll be honored to do
the Hope
that.
Center
For
KC.
23 years, the Hope Center has been a neighbor right here on the east side of Kansas City. We are a community youth development organization. And so when I say youth development organization, I'm talking about we provide asset-based training and programs for K through 12. And then we have an alumni program for those students who go on to the workforce or onto college, where we continue to bring them together. They either come back as volunteers. We have programs that support the work that they're doing, gift bags for our collegiates so that they are always remembered by the Hope Center, and also some gear so that they can always support the Hope Center on their campuses. On the community development side, we focus on how to synergize and help create sustainability in the midst of our community. So we look at those nefarious systems that interrupt the growth and the development of children, youth, and families, and we try to address them cooperatively, collectively, and specifically. And so in doing that, we formed a medical clinic called Hope Family Care Center, which is located right there on the Prospect Linwood Plaza, where they focus on general medicine. We had full-time physicians and nurses. We do mental health care as well. They do dermatology. They do prenatal care. So they get a chance to be in a clinic that really continues to provide quality care for members in our community. We also have a charter school, which is called Hope Leadership Academy. Serves transitional kindergarten through fourth grade at this time, where we try to take a small school, bring in the best practices, and combine high tech with high touch, so that there's a level of intimacy in the educational growth of the students in our community who have the opportunity to attend this public charter school, not private, but public charter school. We also have affordable housing initiatives that we're working to develop and to build in collaboration with the Prospect Business Association, where we will build single-family homes as well as duplexes, so that we can begin to see families remain in our community in affordable housing that is also housing that they can be proud of because it protects the dignity of all humanity. We have a community garden that we also partner with the Santa Fe Housing Authority, where we have the opportunity, or Homeowners Association, where we have an open on the corner of Linwood and Benton Boulevards. It's a wide open, no fence. Individuals who want to come in and be able to pick fresh fruits and vegetables have the opportunity to do so, because it's open to every individual within our community. We do that in partnership with our Homeowners Association. Then we have family-based programs that we do on a monthly basis that connects families together, that encourages them, that empowers them, and equips them with particular information and skills so that they continue to parent their children even more effectively, and also to have a safe place and a fun place for them to be. We have a state-of-the-art playground as well as a basketball court that we're resurfacing with sports courts for outdoor competition and challenges together in our community. And then we'll be looking to build a brand new community center that focuses on technology, the arts, and recreation. That's forthcoming. And then finally, a historic church building that we own. These are all assets that we possess and we already own. And this 1904 historic church building will be converted into a family life center to be able to once again extend our reach to our community in the Palestine, Santa Fe, Oak Park, Idaho communities where individuals can find a neutral place to come together and to be able to support families, support the arts, support young people on Friday and Saturday nights, and give businesses as well as churches and communities, families, a place to come and a place to be able to what we call making memories in our community.
That's it.
Yes, of the
I was just waiting till the end of that.
just try to be
That's
comprehensive in nature.
incredible. That is a oh my that's the definition of comprehensive. Oh my gosh, that is that is incredible. That is a lot. That is a lot. How tell me what's the story behind this? I mean, you have all these things. I mean,
Yes,
you went over a lot and touched on a lot of different things, right?
yes,
The leadership, the education, the healthcare part, just providing recreational facilities and opportunities and all of these other things.
yeah.
You know, how did this
So when
come?
you're in a high
How did this all
transitional
come together?
community, we have about 5,000 vacant homes on the east side of Kansas City. And initially, the Hope Center was a grassroots youth program that was looking to focus on developing youth leaders within our community. But what we didn't take into account was all the various nefarious systems that can hinder or prevent that specific outcome. And so we needed to address it, and we needed to address it from a community perspective. And so all these particular programs that started based upon the needs of the community. And so we recognized there was a lack of health care in our community. And that's what helped us to establish through the interests of both the community and those that we knew who were physicians who wanted to embark upon this journey because we knew that it was going to be a journey. And so we asked them, let's not start something that we won't finish. We want to come with a perspective of longevity. And so in 2009, we established this medical clinic. And then they closed all the elementary schools in the
Wow.
community that we're in. And so in the 64128 community, these schools were closed. And so we started a public charter school because, again, families wanted to not just always bus their children somewhere else. They wanted to stay within the community. And so we were able to get with several educators that had relationships with University of Central Missouri, who was a charter school host, and we started a public charter school in 2011, and to meet the needs of the elementary school needs of our children in our community. We had property that we were able to ascertain for to meet fresh fruits and vegetables because we have a food desert in our community. So that's what really prompted the movement of our garden. What prompted the movement of our housing initiative is the fact that we lack affordable housing. You know, we have a lot of out of town landlords in this city, and particularly in our community, that become slumlords. And so we wanted to make sure that we could provide value and dignity to our community and really address what our vision was initially. And that was to develop healthy communities where the vulnerable can have hope and flourish. And so we said, how do we help individuals be able to have hope, and how do we help them flourish? And so these are that's the momentum. The vision itself is the momentum that dictates what we continue to do to get to that vision where we're no longer needed in our community.
Yeah, so you're basically you're taking the problems. I mean, really, it seems the approach you've taken is you've looked at all the problems in your community and said, hey, there's we don't have elementary schools, right?
Yes.
So we need to fill the gap. We need more housing, right? We need to fill the gap there. We have a food desert, as you mentioned, so we need to fill the gap there. What and that's, I mean, what really drive? I'm curious, and this is what I love about working. I love about working with nonprofits. I love about interviewing nonprofits and very mission driven organizations is you're so part of the solution, right? You're thinking about the
Correct.
solution. You're not complaining about the problems and just complaining, and then going and then obviously expecting somebody else to do it. Your organization's actually doing this, right? You're like, hey, here's the problem. We are going to own that, which I think is
Yeah,
really, really
it's
cool.
the reality is that, there's always problems, and oftentimes we're faith driven as an
Yep.
organization as well. And so we don't belong to any particular denomination or
Right.
that controls the Hope Center. But because money is not our mission, our mission comes from the transformation in the lives of people because, you could build new buildings, but that doesn't guarantee good homes. So we look at the transformation both
Right.
in the heart of humanity and then transformation in the community in which they reside. And so we just marry those two specific things together. And what's amazing, Jason, is that we get a chance to do that. And for the last 23 years, we've done that through just the generosity of the philanthropic community here in Kansas City. We have not received any state funding, any federal funding, or any city funding to do the things that we have.
Wow.
Now, now that our medical clinic is a fully federal FHQC status, they can now receive federal funding reimbursements for Medicaid and Medicare. And so that's really helpful now where the clinic is not living off philanthropic generosity alone. Our schools are public charter schools, so they get a chance to get state funding as a charter school to be able to do that. But for us as a community center, as a community development organization, we do not. And so we have, and not because we haven't, that we are not eligible to, we just haven't pursued it in that way. We haven't had to jump over the red tape to be able to do the things that we needed to do. And now the city have recognized what we're doing. And so hopefully there's a partnership to establish to be able to build these new entities like our new facility for our community center, our partnership with Ad Hoc Against Crime and their development on the Peace Center right next to us with some land that we've given. We've purchased 30 contiguous lots over time. And so that's what grants us the ability to do affordable housing. We just acquired some other land across the street from the Hope Center that had two homes that were fire damaged and burnt out. And so we just purchased those to clean up our community in a way so that we can begin to build housing for young people who've been displaced and they have no place to stay. And so being able to have a guardian lineman in partnership with our social services to be able to keep kids out of foster care, but to be able to give them a fair start and a head start so they complete their high school education and then be able to give them vision to go into the first workforce or into the armed forces or to go into secondary education. Just helping to remove barriers as much as we can.
Yeah, and what I love about it too is you're not relying, like you mentioned, you're not going right to the government and or right to those public sources of funds right away to be able to do this. You're basically going to your supporters. Now, tell me a little about who
Yeah.
generally is your supporters? Is it individuals,
Yeah.
corporations? I mean,
Continue to try to
who backs you?
diversify our income, but because we're moved by our mission and not by
Of
money,
course,
so we don't establish programs
right,
where money is available to. So our donor base
right,
is from individuals within our community, individuals that hear about the Hope Center and resonate with our mission and our vision. And so those are the individuals that make up the at least 70% of our donor base. We have anonymous donors. We
Mm,
also have monthly donors that have invested on a monthly basis in the work of the Hope Center. We also have,
yeah.
and the privilege and honor that we have business community that come alongside of us. We do an annual event, and these businesses will come to our annual event to support the work of the Hope Center. We have grants and foundations that support the work of the Hope Center as well. And then we've established a landscaping business amongst our teenagers. And so they take care not only the lots that we possess and the land that we have, but also they serve within our community context. And so it's been fun to receive funding that comes from that business. And then churches will come alongside of us as
Yeah.
well and to be able to give support. And so we have a quite a diverse set of donors that make up our donor base that continue to help the $1.4 million budget that we carry.
So you have a business, a landscaping business that
Yes.
the organization started that is functions basically as a fundraising tool, but it's an actual business, which obviously makes sense because it's for your properties and things like that, right? But it's also it functions in the community too, right? You advertise that business, right? The
Yeah, we
normal residents
we're learning to
buy those
develop it
services,
even
right?
more so. Organizations like Entrenuity and KC Source Link comes alongside to help develop business plans and to get the teenagers on board to understand how to utilize a business. And it's part of their own entrepreneurial learning. And so uh, they're not making a
Yeah,
whole lot of money so far that they can sustain, but they're sustaining their income,
yeah,
which is tremendous because we're paying them beyond minimum wage, and so they're having the
sure.
opportunity to do so. And here's the deal, Jason: when you have young people that have learning value of work and they have learned a work ethic, then they recognize that they take that work ethic because whatever they do, it represents their own character. And as a result of that, a drug dealer can come towards them and offer them more money. But because they learn work ethic and value about what they do, they won't accept that offer. They will walk away. They will say, "Nah, that's all right. We make money on a legit way," and so it does their heart good.
Yep.
It does our heart good to recognize that we have a cadre of male and female teenagers that are able to come and to do this landscaping business and to learn it, even junior high kids, in a way that really helps them to understand the value of work and the impact that they make in their own community because of it.
Mind blown here. If there was the Bitmoji that had the mind blown part, that's I just can't even wrap my head around this. That the I- I- that what you've done too is you've not only created a great funding source for yourself, but you've also instilled in the opportunity for the people that are working, the kids that are working in the business itself. You've instilled the same values, core values, within the organization to them, which obviously is helping them both on the social side. So it's not only helping them financially,
Yes.
but it's helping them socially at the same time. So you're actually, you're everything. It seems like almost everything that you're doing, basically, you're taking. It's got. I'm trying to think of the best word here. It's a multi-prong approach. You're instilling the mission and vision. You're instilling the core values. You're also creating a funding source for the organization, which helps you serve more people, which helps you to
Yes.
advance your mission and everything else.
Well,
And
because
man,
we approach it from an
you know,
asset
yeah,
base, not a deficit base. We all know the deficits that exist in families and within our community, but we spend more time on the development of the assets in the lives of students, assets in the lives
yeah,
of family, assets in the lives of men, assets in the lives of single parent moms. And so we see them. Like, for instance, last night we had for our high schoolers, we had a Valentine dinner dance for our high school families. And so all the families gather together. at our school here, and we have the opportunity just to love on them, to be able to encourage them. They come to a well decorated place, good food that is served, gifts that are given, roses that are given to
Yeah.
the young men and to the daughters to be able to give to their mothers, and then having the parents get up at the end and just dancing with their children, and just having a great time together. That's what we always continue to do within our communities. Is what we call provide unique opportunities for flourishing.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is I yeah. I mean usually when we do an interview, it's we're kind of focusing on maybe a couple aspects or one aspect, or and again it does not in any way shape or form talk down any of the organizations that focus in on just one thing. But what you're doing is you're looking at this community, and you're looking at how do we, like you said, how do we focus in on building the asset, right? And I think that's a big thing too in society today is that I think there's a lot, and I say this a lot, is that we are surrounded in a
Yes,
world filled with
yes.
negativity, right? It's just around us, right? You pick up your phone, you got the news feed, everything else, it's filled with negativity. You talked, even when you start going out there, going out into society, and you start talking to people, depending on who you talk to, I mean, it seems like this world is this terrible place, and it's gotten worse, and 2022 is the worst, way worse than it was, and in the 80s or the 60s or anything like that, and which I think is like, no, maybe you just haven't lived then. But what's crazy though is that or not what's crazy, but it's amazing that if you just look at organizations like yours, which are making the difference, we're focusing in on the asset, right? If America, a good example, if we just look at the United States, we looked at America and we said, America, if you managed your
Mhm.
country like a balance sheet, right? Assets, liabilities, right? And equity. You have the three parts of any balance sheet, right? So what you're focusing on is the asset instead of focusing on the liability and the problems and all those things that essentially
Yeah.
devalue everything, right? Devalue the outlook and everything else, right? If more individuals realize, hey, this is the good, this is the organizations that are truly making the difference, and how can you support that? How can you become a part of that part, and spend spend more of your time
Yes.
volunteering for your organization than watching TV or or
Yeah.
social worse off social media. Um, the Hopefully, except for this video, because this is very enriching and helping people find the solutions. But uh, uh, you know, but do you agree with that? I mean, it's just I think you're a
Yeah,
part of that
and
movement in
we're a
the right
staff
direction.
of 10 full-time individuals with two interns, and the rest of our community base is volunteers. And so our volunteers are essential for us, and our
Yeah,
volunteers are diverse. They're black, they're white, they're Hispanic, they're Asian. So, we're serving a predominantly African American community. So we want individuals to understand that and to increase their worldview. For instance, Jason, here's the reality. There is, I like to use two illustrations. One is there's a Good Times motif. Good Times was that 70s, 80s TV show where you had a family living in
yeah,
the projects of
I
Cabrini
remember that.
Green in Chicago, and people, that's people's lifestyle. That's people's lives. Those are realities in the condition of family lives. But then you had Cosby Show. And Cosby Show, for others, was less realistic. Cosby Show they thought was more fantasy based. You have two professional parents who have five children living in the brownstones in Brooklyn, New York. They have uh, wealth, and they're raising their children, and there's a father, the
Hmm.
same daddy, same mommy. And so you ask people in our community, rather it's the white community or even the African American community, which one do you see as being more realistic? And they always go to the Good Times motif. And so we said, no, 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 no. That might
Yep.
be one reality, but there is another reality, and Cosby Show is not
Right.
fantasy, it's also reality. And so our lives play a role in that. I
Yeah.
have five children, and I've been married for 32 years. I have another two staff members who
Yeah.
been married for 20 years. There's another staff member, they've been married for 5 years. We got other staff members that have been married for 12 years. So, and then we got single staff members. We want them to see a picture that's different
Yeah.
than what they always see, and to increase their worldview, so that when they say, hey, all them kids yours, same mommy, same daddy, we can say yes. This is not anomaly. This is reality. And we can all be able to exist
Mhm.
cooperatively, because that's what we talk about when we say a sustainable community. Everybody together, is
Yeah.
everyone is needed. Everyone is necessary. So that's why the
Yeah.
dignity of humanity is so
Well,
vital.
it is, and I think too, when you expose yourself to a lot of social media
Mhm.
and you expose yourself to a lot of media, and unfortunately that's just the case, right? A lot of people get their information that way. It does create that world, though. It does create where the Cosby Show is not reality, right? Or that and obviously a big conversation in today's world has been the racial divide and things like that. And it's like, that's not really reality. That's being filtered to you. That's being filtered down. I'm not saying there aren't issues or whatever else, and that's not the point. But there are definitely, there are examples
Yes.
all over the place. Like you had mentioned, your organization's a great example of that. Is people just working together, people that want to be part of that solution, and that's the reality. Is I think there's more of those people out there than there are of the naysayers, the people that are saying, okay, well, it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And the problem is that, again, it looks worse because they're highlighting things. They're highlighting probably really even non-events, things that aren't even really a part of that. And that's what I love about that. And I agree 100%. That's what's going to make this world a better place, is if more people looked at their involvement in the community, just like you look at the involvement, or you look and you instill the core values in the people that are going through
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
program
See,
and the
it's
people that you
about,
touch, right?
the United States of America, like other countries in our world, we have problems. There's no doubt about it. But
Sure.
we're
Yes.
imperfect people. So
Yeah.
imperfect people are always going to invite problems, right? Yet, um, there is, when we begin to value people, that's what we call the dignity of humanity, right? And so, for instance, we do events every month, and those we do, of course, family-based events, but we do community outreach events. Because we're philanthropic, we can't afford to replicate things
Right.
and services that other people are doing. So we won't do that. We got a YMCA right next to us. We're not replicating by building a gym. We send folk to the YMCA.
Sure.
Operation Breakthrough is
Exactly.
doing some great things. We send people there. We're not feeding folks. We send people to harvesters. We send, so we're not going to replicate services. But what we do
Right.
is that we bring community together. And so we had a fall festival that was here in October. Over 900 people gathered together. 900. We had no police
Yeah.
presence that was there. No incidents, no issues, no fighting, no arguments that break out, because you create an atmosphere. That's what the Hope Center does. Create a hopeful atmosphere so that people can feel good about where they are. We call it safe space, fun places where people can gather together,
Hmm.
and this is our 8th year doing this without police presence. You won't hear it on the news. You won't see it. Media doesn't cover it, but you have
Of course
hundreds of
not.
people that gather together in our events, and we do it without incident. Our basketball court, without staff being present, we have kids that come out and play, from elementary school to high school to adults. And we don't have any incidents. There's no shootings that take place in our basketball court. There's none of those things have happened, and we're grateful to God for that. But none of those things have happened because we spend time in our neighborhood creating a community context where the Hope Center belongs to the community, not to an organization. And that's why every day when we get up, our staff recognize every morning that we get a chance to get up, we get up knowing this as our mantra. We're there to help the hopeless become hopeful so that the hopeful can become healthy and that the healthy can become helpful. That's what we do every morning. So the hopeless can become hopeful, therefore, so that the hopeful can become healthy and the healthy can become helpful. And that's our mantra.
Yeah, and it's giving back. Again, if the healthy become helpful, guess what? That they're passing it along right now. You have a community of people that essentially, and probably, they are the stem. They're the stem of the organization, and they go beyond whatever it is that you're going to be able to do yourself, but at all, right? Because it's word of mouth, whatever you want to call it. But the thing I hear too is that community, that value, that the thing, and I think part of the solution that can make this world a better place is organizations like yours, which have really instilled a sense of culture inside of a community that has basically laid the ground rules for how things are. You don't need police presence at your events because you've laid the ground rules. There's a certain view or worldview of and certain rules, underlying rules that are at play. And I think if we can stem that out, right? So you've clearly created a great model. Stem that out into the larger community, right? Where this will never probably happen, is when the news covers the the events that have there's no issues, right? Like, hey, there was no issues today. Well, that's not news. Consider, at least they don't consider it that way. But that is part of I think the change that
a new
America
narrative
needs right now. I think it's
a new
yeah.
a narrative that
right?
is hopeful, where when hope roots, people rise, right? So there is this, we got to create new narratives constantly where we're hearing people's stories, what you're doing in these podcasts, where people can share stories, create new narratives that exist in our communities, that exist in our cities, that exist in our country. And they are reportable. People want to hear good interest stories. They don't always want to hear about what animals have been rescued. I mean, that's a good thing and all, but what people have been rescued, and the goodness of humanity. It doesn't always have to be theme based, such as this is the month of kindness. Kindness is a character to be practiced,
right?
But what we do at the Hope Center is that everybody that comes, we just have an expectation. We don't lower the expectations. We have an expectation that we set for people, and we're willing to walk them through to meet those expectations, but we don't lower the expectations. We don't grade on the curve. We expect people to be able to achieve. We expect people to be able to behave. We expect people to be able to learn. We expect people to be able to grow. We expect people to be able to serve. We expect people to be able to care for one another, to resolve conflict. So there's expectations that we place upon people. And because of those expectations, you'd be amazed at how people will meet expectations. Just like you'd be surprised when they don't, because there's no step, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's and expectations are really, that's what sets culture, right? Is expectations. If you expect that, you expect that your family shouldn't be like the Cosbys portrayed themselves, right? Or if you expect that's what you attract, that's what you bring, that's a part of a society or in a culture that you're creating. But you have, and what I love about organizations like yours is that you're intentional about bringing that expectation to a different level, kind of saying, hey, don't focus in on the negative, focus in on the positive side. And oh, by the way, here are the 1,000 different things and different ways you can get involved, improve yourself, bring hope for yourself, but also here's how you can influence other people.
And people can fail, but when they fail, that's when we extend grace, again, so that you can fall forward. So that's what we want to see people do. I mean, even in the midst of
Hmm.
their difficulties and all that, you learn how to get into people's pain and walk them to a different place. And so we're just not
Yeah,
satisfied with the status quo, satisfied with folks saying, well, that's just the way I am. It doesn't have to be.
doesn't need to be the way you are. Yeah, that's that. You can
That's
change, and
right.
you can change that right now. Right, you can change that right now, and and figure out a way to change the way you look at the world and change what media you're also
Yeah.
exposing yourself to as well. Right, get involved. And the one thing I said this in an earlier podcast was, if you get involved, so either you're volunteering or even if you again just actively participate in the services or getting involved by volunteering, sharing, just even sharing. Hey, if you're on social media, maybe instead of next time going through and scrolling through and being depressed when you're done, which I always feel like I'm pretty depressed after probably about 10-15 seconds of scrolling after a while. Um, Maybe it's just the way again, I think the algorithm is sort of designed that way. It's sort of designed to make you feel a certain way, and then boom, there comes pops an ad right there for you,
Yes.
right when you're vulnerable, right? So I
Yes.
won't get into that. That's a whole different story, different subject. Um, but the thing is that I think you you have, by doing these things, by donating, by volunteering, you have the ability to kind of shift that mindset quickly into gratitude. And the dollar, the value you get back, the
Yes.
transaction you get back by
Yes.
participating and sharing that, and being part of the solution. We are a part of the solution, I believe. It's not going to
Right.
expecting the government to do it, or expecting organizations, or expecting your employer to make your life better, right? Isn't going to solve anything. That's not, although those things may or may not help, they're not in control. You're not in control of that. So I think, by getting involved in organizations such as yours that are making the change and being part of that change, you have the ability to shift the narrative in your own head. And you know what? Guess what happens? You de-stress a little bit. You take a load. You don't, you look at the world a little bit differently, and you start to appreciate
Absolutely.
things a
And
lot
that's
more.
why
Right.
even in our volunteer services that we have people who come and do a serve day, and they're doing a particular project either in the garden or in the buildings or around several of our lots. And they're serving with our staff and with our community in the midst of that. And there's learning and conversations that are taking place. Of course, we need volunteers for all the programs that we have. And those individuals who engage, they begin to see people differently. They begin to understand
Yep.
context, and that changes their mind and their thought process that they once had. We get a chance to see businesses come in and to do projects, and so it changes the concept of that what they had about the east side of Kansas City, even. So it's amazing what happens when people get engaged. When people get engaged with each
Hmm.
other, they get a chance to learn from each other, and it changes the paradigm and the perspective that they may have. And when that changes, then their narrative change. And then when they deal with other people who have false narratives, they can correct them, because they can say, no, I've been there. I've
Hmm.
engaged. I've been with people, and I've seen things differently. And that's what engagement does.
Yeah. It does. And yeah, when you're engaged, yeah, you also surround yourself with the aura of other people, their viewpoints, and it's a weird contagious, it's very, very contagious way, but a contagious in a great way, right? Because you surround yourself with people that have a different outlook, and maybe they have a different outlook, maybe they didn't have that before, but they've been in your shoes where they didn't have hope, and then all of a sudden they had hope. Right, that's part of what you're doing here, is you're providing that
Yeah, there
opportunity
was
for them to do so.
Jason,
So
there was a
I
young
mean,
white male
that
who
it's huge.
was paraplegic, and his name was Joe, and he was just getting ready to graduate from college. And so Joe would come, and for a month, Joe just shadowed us. He was doing an internship with us, And it was amazing to see how Joe interacted with the middle school, the high school, and the children in the midst of our programs. They watched him having to be carried downstairs because we didn't have handicap accessibility to go down our stairs. They watched how he interacted on the basketball court and outside. Here, this young man is confined to a wheelchair, and he has this joy that he shares with individuals, and they get a chance to interact with him. They get a chance to see him laugh and laugh with them and all that. That changed the
Yeah.
perspective of our students who may be in some messed up homes, or our students who may be suffering economically, gave them a different perspective of what they did possess, which was their health, what they did possess, their legs, their mobility. And they saw those things and say, you know what? Things may be bad in some areas, but they're great in others. And it was wonderful to watch them
Yeah.
be able to engage and to love on each other and to share life with each other from a different perspective because they shared stories together and they shared lives.
Mm-hmm.
Powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. It was sharing that, just the different experiences you can relate to. It's not somebody professing it to you and saying, "Hey, be more positive," right? Be more positive. Well, that's really hard to be more positive sometimes, or it's hard to sometimes appreciate those things and be very appreciative of the fact that you have the ability to be maybe more mobile, or you
Yes.
have your eyesight, or you have there's a lot of things that we can be appreciative of, right? And so when like you said, I mean, I think, and I agree 100%. It's about being around people that have been in those scenarios, and being able to share those stories. But sometimes it's hard to be around those people. And what you've done with the Hope Center KC is you've
Yes.
created the culture for that. You've created the opportunities for that through the events and the programs and all of these things that you've done. And you've really created what I would say is a
That's
culture
our
of
goal.
change.
If we can continue to provide transformational opportunities through asset based programming, if we can continue to connect with individuals. My staff understands something specific in our own core values, and that is if I go to McDonald's and as I'm going through a drive through, and the person on the speaker who's taking my order is pleasant and kind, wants to serve me, want to take my order. And if I have a specialty order, like I don't want salt on my French fries, or there's no, or
Right.
ketchup on the burger or whatever, and they say to me, it is my pleasure to serve you. I feel like this person I encountered on the screen was wonderful. And then they telling me to drive around, and I
Mm-hmm.
go around
Yeah.
and I meet the individual who's there to take my money, and they don't even make eye contact with me. They just tell me how much it is, and then they have the counter, the credit card counter for me to swipe. But I can't reach it because they have it inside their door, and they won't even stretch the counter. I got to open the door to stretch so I can swipe it. And then I go
So,
to pick
yeah.
up the food, and the person who I'm picking it up from says, well, because you had such a specialty order, it's not ready right now. Just pull over to the side and somebody will bring it out to you. I had three different experiences in the same place. It was the same McDonald's, but I had three
Right.
different encounters and three different experiences. And I told my staff, listen, no matter who we interact with, no matter who comes to the Hope Center, and no matter who they talk to, they will not get a different experience. They all need to get the same experience. And that is the experience of being
Yeah.
respected, cared about, loved on, and the dignity of humanity, the imago Dei, the dignity of humanity of who they created to be is going to be honored, no matter who they talk to, no matter who they interact with. And that's in our culture as a staff, we create that so that when people interact with us, they say something about not just one person, they say, man, we love being around y'all. Not just you, y'all,
Yeah.
so
You're right.
it's a change of
Community. Yeah,
mindset,
the
and
community.
it's a creation of an environment for people to flourish in.
Yeah, and there's so many. Hope and pray too that as organizations like yours are making a bigger footprint to other organizations, or sorry, other areas, and other organizations in other areas take that same philosophy and continue to scale that. Right, if we can do this
Yeah.
at scale, man, look at the change. I mean, look at the change you've made in your community. But what could you do? What could we do if every community had that? Right, you would create. And I don't know. I guess you get. Well, you would create. I'm just going to say the word. You're going to create a pandemic of
Yes.
change, a better change,
Yes.
right? Who knows? I guess if you say that word, I guess you get like But we're not. We're not being monetized on YouTube or anything anyway. So, this is just independent. This is free thinking. But that would be the next big pandemic is the fact of what the current pandemic has done is it's created a lot of negativity and different viewpoints, and that's been mismanaged and all this and a lot of finger pointing, right? And there's probably some truth and reality to some of that, but you could speculate and you can look into that, but that's not the point. The point is not to do that. But we as the society, we as the community can make that change. We as individuals inside of that community can change who we support, can change the tone, can change the environment, change
Mhm.
the way we engage, can do all of these things. And if we do that at scale, it has a way, as I mentioned before, it has a way to be contagious. It has a way to be able to spread. And if you think about it, if we have the ability to spread a virus around, I mean, and again, something uncontrollable, really, in a lot of ways,
Mhm.
or invisible, if you will. We definitely have the capability to change and to spread something that is very controllable, and something we can change immediately, which is the way our thoughts are and the way we interact and who we interact with, and to create, as you mentioned, that culture of change and the culture of positivity, and what's going to make this society, not only your community better, but also societies
You're
better as a
absolutely
whole.
right. You're absolutely right.
So
And that's why when it comes to things like the act of kindness, when it comes to the issue of respect,
yeah,
the things that we can do that can be contagious. It's amazing how we see things happen where when the young people start just picking up trash right around the buildings, and then other people come around and they get involved in it. There's things that we can motivate and empower and encourage people to do. We like to call it positive peer pressure. That there's everybody experience peer pressure of
yeah,
some sort. Why not make it peer pressure that empowers and encourages and enriches the
right,
individual? And so we seek to do that. We seek to do that in how to properly, develop friendships. How to properly engage in relationships. How to be able to when I'm having
hmm
a bad day and hard day, to be able to communicate that in a way that is not destructive with our mouths to other people. And so, when they see us, when they see me as the leader, get it right, and course correct,
yeah,
when I have to defrag my own mind or reset myself so that I'm not attacking my staff or not saying something to them that hurts their feelings or maybe erroneous in a decision, that they can see how I come back and
right,
apologize. How I can say I'm sorry or I was wrong. We want to continue to keep that type of environment where people can recognize that this is if we want to see peaceful environments. Peaceful environments. Gardens are nice, flowers are nice, sunny days are nice, but what makes a peaceable environment is the people in the environment. So we got to see people change
hmm
in the midst of an environment, and it creates
yeah.
the dynamic for other people to enjoy such an environment.
Change the environment, change the
Yeah.
people.
Because again, people are essential and they're critical. So when we begin to look at all the dynamics of what we're doing next, we're right now in this capital campaign for restoration and reuse of this historic 1904 church, beautiful on the outside, decaying on the inside. It's going to be a phenomenal facility and asset to bring our community together, for individuals to come together, for families to come together, for us to have a Friday night movie night inside of a facility together, just for some unique opportunities to occur in that facility. And then when we start to build this new community center that focuses on technology and robotics and e-gaming and sound studio and the practical and fine arts, to be able to have a smoothie Wi-Fi cafe where the smoothie, fruits of the smoothie comes out of the garden, from the garden to the blender, dance studios, after school programs, things that really just continue to enrich and inspire and provide unique skills for our families and our community. It will be another asset to see happen. So with the Hope Center, wherever you go, whether you're going to go to a quality school or get quality health care or come in for quality after school programs or support programs, we want to be there for our community. And we want to continue to build and develop that. Go deep as we go wide with people.
That is incredible. Marvin, it's been awesome today. Awesome interview, awesome conversation. And, one thing I always want to leave people with is, how to contact you, what's the next step? I mean, I'm amazed. I'm still blown away. It's going to take me a few days to kind of wrap around and probably have to watch this interview a few times just to remember all the things you said you do, the Hope Center does. Just incredible. It's a lot. It's so awesome. That you've created a culture of change around being a part of the solution. How can people get involved? What's a good next step? If you're listening today and you're inspired,
they could go right onto our website and find all the information that they want about the Hope Center, and that's hopecenterkc.org. hopecenterkc.org. Our number, you can call us as well. You got any questions or just inquisitive about what we do, 816-931-6290. That's 816-931-6290. We're also going to be on the YouTube page at hopecenterkc.org, Facebook as well, hopecenterkc.org, Instagram. We're on social media as well to redirect individuals to see some other things that are happening. So, Jason, thank you so much for the privilege of being able to share the story of the Hope Center KC.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure. And to wrap up here, I mean, you are a part of the solution, right? We are watching this. Marvin and the Hope Center of KC, or Hope Center KC, is a part of that solution. But you have the choice. You have the choice to be able right now look at yourself, look at your life, look at your day, and to be a part of that solution and to avoid the problems. Not that there are definitely problems out there, but you can take part by visiting the website, right? You got to visit hopecenterkc.org and make sure you get involved, or even just getting involved in your own local community as well. I think in finding ways to be able to create a culture of change. That's a lot of what we talked about today with Marvin. So be sure to smack the bell, or subscribe, smack the bell for notifications here on our YouTube channel, so you can stay tuned with new interviews and other inspiring stories. It's stories to make you feel better, especially in times like this where we are constantly being bombarded with negative messages. These are the stories that are really positive and that are a part of the change that we really need to see in this world to make this world a better place. So I appreciate you for watching or listening, and have a great rest of the day.